federal Liberals are feeling a lot of pressure over the housing crisis and over the economic crisis. And though they keep telling you that temporary foreign workers are going to be the savior of all the economy, now they're claiming that anybody under a certain amount of earnings are not going to be permitted into the country, that they're just going to bar them from entering. I don't know why they would think that after all of this time we're going to have somehow the ability to fill the skills of the lower income earners, whereas we can overcome the upper income earners without any problem at all. But sometimes I look at the Liberal announcements and the Liberal policies, and I am convinced that they are doing exactly the opposite of what they know they should be doing. I am convinced that they are in no way, shape, or form trying to solve the problem or only trying to make it worse. I mean, I don't want to point any fingers, but it doesn't look like there's any common sense to the logic of it at all. It just looks like they either they're doing it on purpose or they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. There can be no other conclusion to be drawn. Anyway, before we get into it, I would encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this channel with all your friends. I have an open GoFundMe, and I have memberships if you wish to support the channel that way. There's a lot of ways that a person can come into this country. They can come as a refugee, asylum seeker. They can come as a student. They can come as a temporary foreign worker. And for some reason, the Liberals have got it into their mind that if they ban temporary foreign workers from coming into the country, somehow that's going to solve the housing crisis. They don't want to ban all the temporary foreign workers. They just want to ban the ones that make less than $28 an hour in Ontario. They want to ban the ones that make less than the median income in Canada, whatever region they happen to be coming to. Now, Canada has a lot of agricultural people that do the temporary foreign worker. And apparently, after read this article, they have a lot of people that come into Canada to do PSW, like help people, caregivers, they call it. Potential changes to temporary foreign workers rules worry farmers, people relying on caregivers. Federal government considers blocking low-wage temporary workers from coming to Canada. The refusal would apply to workers that make below the median hourly wage in each province and territory, which is $28.39 in Ontario. This year, the farm that's in this article hired 21 people. And I say that they hired 21 people because 21 people are now spending money, even if only a little bit, right? Because they also have to spend money back in the country that they came from, whether that in this picture here, it's Jamaica and Trinidad. So they could be, sending money back to those islands, which are, if you go to the resort, look great. But if you're not in the resort, the rest of the island doesn't have any money in it at all. So that's an important impact on these countries, as well as the local economy where these gentlemen, because they're not going to be looking for apartments, right? They're going to get bunk houses. It's going to be part of the negotiation. They're going to provide them with a bed. It's not going to be, a 3-bedroom apartment but it will have a shower. It will have, all the facilities you need, and maybe even some privacy from when you're sleeping, or it might be sleeping in the same room, with other people that are working on the farm. And the government typically offers the subsidies to these farmers, which we Canadians are supposed to see reflected in the food prices, because we're giving tax dollars to help offset the cost of producing the food, so that when the food gets to the grocery store, it looks less expensive. We all know that the upper government and all of the big businesses in this country have ran the prices of everything through the roof, and they are desperately trying to make us all go broke so that we don't have any of the gumption to worry about what they're doing. So that's not being reflected in any of the grocery stores, but that's what it is in theory. That's why that program exists. The Liberals' genius idea is to allow in the 1 or 3 people that earn $150,000 a year and remove the 45 or 50 people or whatever the numbers are, but just a lot more of people who earn less than $28 an hour. The people that are earning a lot less, there'll be more of them, so they'll do a lot more spending. And yes, it will be harder on the housing market, but they don't currently require much housing. They, however, will not be buying a $1.4 million 2-bedroom condominium in downtown Toronto. And I think that could be the motivation behind the Liberal mindset. It could be that the stock that is available will not be purchased by these blue-collar workers who make, $20, $25 an hour, who really are just looking for something until they can till they can grow into something bigger, right? Like maybe if we were to bring them in and allow them to live here, they would be looking to rent like a townhouse, let's say, or a 1 bedroom, and then they would, meet a girl and then maybe have a child, which would then, progress to something bigger. But I don't know anywhere that they would say to themselves, oh, I want to live in a high density condominium on the 28th floor in downtown anything. They might say, oh, let me get a townhouse out in the suburbs, which is why the suburbs are so big, because that's what people like to do. But that doesn't necessarily jive with the picture that the Liberals have for the high density cities that they want to build. Now, of course, they don't have any skilled labor. And if you're having a shortage of labor that will allow you to build houses, which one do you think would be easier to transfer? Do you think the guy who knows how to work on a farm, do you figure you could train him to build a house quicker than you can do the guy who only knows how to write code? Person, whatever. The skilled labor, though, I understand, I can see its significance is not necessarily going to resolve many of the issues that we have in this country. Now, you can take a person and basically teach them how to frame a house in a couple of days. That is not the difficult part of a house. Putting up the lumber is not the tricky part. Sometimes you got to teach them how to use the saw. Sometimes you got to teach them how to, a couple of things, but it's not mind numbing. You need four or 5 years to teach to them, like you say you do in the case of like a doctor or electrician or a plumber or a floor installer and things like that. However, taking them will at least give you the short-term bridge that you need to stop the hemorrhaging of the tradespeople, because this article tells us that desperate employers pleading for skilled tradesmen is the story of Canada's growing labor shortage in a nutshell. Some 700,000 of Canada's 4 million skilled tradespeople are set to retire in 2028, according to recent projections. At least 1/3 of tradespeople and apprentices in Ontario are 55 and older. The older worker hang up their tools. They're not being replaced with younger ones who bring matching skills to the job site. So you can take a guy as a temporary foreign worker and have him building houses all summer long, and then he can go back to his country. There's no difference. I'm not saying to you that they necessarily want to do that, but say to yourself that we're going to ban all people that make under a certain wage that are going to come into this country to work in the summertime when we do a lot of our work. Why would you ban the people who can help us build the houses? Because those are the ones that we need. Now we need we need a many-pronged attack here. When I was in high school, there was a wood shop class was in every school. Everybody could do it. You would learn how to work with wood on your way out of high school, which means that you could get into a construction job day one, 18, graduation, boom, I'm going in to build houses. Those programs got cut because people were worried about injury to people. However, the saws nowadays will, I've seen demonstrations where a hot dog will make the saw automatically cut off. So there are steps to be safer. As well as that, we assume that everybody, see, that's the problem, right? Is we create this environment where everybody has to go to college. However, the tradespeople make a lot of money. I know that the media doesn't give them a good impression, but they make a considerable amount of money. And many of them will make more than a person coming out of a like college with a human resources diploma or any of a number of diplomas. It's a skill set for a reason, right? So if you become an electrician, if you're a young person and you're listening to this conversation, and you become a welder, an electrician, a carpenter, a floor installer, a bricklayer, heavy equipment operator, all of these jobs will pay you 6 figures. Okay, you don't wear a suit to work. You might not buy a BMW, but just remember that the next time you see a BMW going by you on the road, unless it's like a 7 Series, it probably costs less than that pickup truck going down the road. And it's more expensive to repair. Okay, it might not look like flashy like you see on all of the TV shows, but that's the point that I'm trying to make. We as a society have steered people away from these very integral and important jobs. And if we are running out of people, if we say that 700,000 of them are set to retire, temporary foreign workers would be the short-term idea, while we get the people that are in college, or in high school right now, to understand that they have this opportunity. that they can learn how to become a skilled tradesman in a short span of time, and then start, not only will they be making good money, but there will be no shortage of work. The amount of houses this country needs due to the immigration issues, there will be no shortage of, there is no way in the world, no matter how many warehouses Sean Fraser says he's going to build houses instantly inside of a building, there is absolutely no way in the world that we will achieve the numbers that they are talking about without an enormous workforce. So anybody who gets into the trades right now will have a lifetime of work. You will have a lifetime of work at really, really good money. And when you have really, really good money, you might not necessarily want to live in a high rise in downtown, but you will have a nice little place, and your bank will be paid, and the money will be there, and your kids can go shopping, and the generation of the economy will rival that of the 1960s United States of America, which was, by all accounts, is probably one of the strongest economies to ever exist, because we had people with skills. Everybody could work on a car. Everybody could do this. Everybody could do that. And then all of a sudden we decided that, only nerds were smart and people who knew how to skills weren't. And, it spiraled out of control. Now, I understand that there's a lot of money in computers, but there's a lot of AI in computers, and there's a lot of changes that are happening in that field. And so if we're going to ban, as Canadians, if we're going to ban people who are coming here on temporary foreign worker, I don't think that we need to be banning the people who are making the little bit of money, because the people that are making the little bit of money are the people who will put down the roots, who are the people who will shop at the restaurants, are the people who will send the money home. There's 50 of them for every one skilled, quote unquote, skilled temporary foreign worker. So the amount of money that this group is spending versus the amount of money that this group is spending to stimulate the economy is not even comparison. This one is considerably higher. Whether they are spending it on the same thing is not what I'm saying. I'm just pointing to the idea that these ones, the pure volume of them spending will far outstrip any of the skilled labor of the $100,000, $50,000 a year jobs that are brought in as temporary foreign workers. So I think that we really need to sort of address the problem of which one do we want in Canada, right? Do we want the ones that can get the hard work done, or do we want the ones who are pampered? Do we want the ones who are willing to learn to do the job so that they can just get their paycheck and send it back to their wife, send it back to their mother in a different land, who are then providing something that is of substance? Or do we want the one who can, write a couple of lines of code? I mean, I can tell you that I have no issue with the person who writes a lot of code, but if we're picking one line or the other, if the government is saying to you that anybody who makes under a certain amount of money is not going to be permitted to be a temporary foreign worker, all the while that the necessity of what the temporary foreign workers fill, the jobs that they fill, are not being replaced by the young ones that are coming up, but the young ones that are coming up are chasing the over $30 an hour jobs. There are plenty of people coming out of schools ready to fill those jobs. Why would we pick then to cut out the under $28 an hour instead of cutting out the over $28 an hour? Because we need the blue collar to get these problems solved. No matter how you want to look at it. I know Sean Fraser will tell you we're going to build them all in the factory, but Sean Fraser is not going to be able to solve this problem. I tell you right now, if we want to solve the housing crisis, we need people that are willing to build the houses. And anybody who will come in and work on a farm, if for whatever reason that job run out, or he knows knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, they will also do that hard work, because they're very hard jobs. All right, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you later.